If you're a contractor or remodeler doing $1 to $3 million of revenue per year, and yet you're still the bottleneck of your business, wearing all the hats, putting out all the fires, juggling all the balls, getting text messages all the time, and you're wondering why you aren't making as much money as you think you should based off your revenue and how many hours you're putting in, then watch this video, because in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 major profit leaks that I consistently see in remodelers' businesses and how to actually fix each one of them. Now, it's more simple than you think it is. A lot of times, contractors try to complicate the systems, and reality is a couple of little tweaks in your business that could add $1 million of revenue to your top line and $300,000 to $500,000 to your bottom line. And why do I say this? Because I know, and I've fixed these 4 profit leaks in many contractors' businesses, and within a couple of months, their business has doubled, their profits have tripled, and they actually have free time, are taking vacations, and have the peace of mind to grow their business the way they want it to grow. So when I talk about these profit leaks, it is not theory, it is actual things that I have seen in contractors' businesses, and I literally explaining it all to you right now here on this video. I'm Liz Chism, and I help contractors and remodelers scale their business profitably and without scaling their chaos. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button so I know that you liked this video, and I'll put out more videos like this one. Now, oftentimes contractors think that they need more people or more leads or more time or more money. And they have these scenarios that, well, if I just had, and then it's fill in the blank of whatever unicorn person that they want, or if I just had more money, if I just had better leads, then, and I wouldn't have all these problems. In reality, things are a lot more simple than this. And fixing these 4 profit leaks will add so much money to your top line and so much money to your bottom line that your business will actually become unrecognizable to you and everybody else in your community. Now, if you think about your business as a bucket, the very first thing to scaling your business, or into the bucket analogy, adding more water to your bucket, is to fix the leaks so that the water you're putting in the bucket actually stays there. Most often, people don't think about profit as a way to grow their business. They think about revenue. Well, I was a $1 million business last year, so I want to be a $2 million business this year. And yet at the same time, they have no money to grow because they don't have any profits. One contractor came to me and he was doing about $4.5 million in revenue, and he was only at 4% net profit. And we fixed these profit leaks, and he went up to 12% net profit. That means he had over $600,000 of profit sitting in his bank account to actually go and invest. And he's been able to do things that are outside of his business to actually give back to the community because he has the profits to do that. Now, at the same time, he's actually grown his revenue a little bit, but he hasn't doubled his revenue, but he's tripled his profits. So this is what I mean by scaling your business, by fixing the profit leaks. The very first profit leak we're going to focus on is the estimating accuracy. If we can fix the estimating accuracy, we can add anywhere from $250,000 to $375,000 to the bottom line just by fixing this. Now, I'm going to walk you through how I actually get to this number and the 3 systems that you need to implement into your business so that you can actually fix this leak and see this profit in your bank account. Now, how do you know that you actually need to go fix this profit leak? How do you know that this is where you need to focus your energy and effort and you need to implement these systems? Because I'm a big believer that you shouldn't really fix something that's not broken in your business. And you always should go to the thing that's the most immediate constraint. So as I go through all 4 of these, I want you to decide which of the 4 is the most immediate constraint. That if I just focus on fixing the one profit leak out of all 4, that I can actually move the needle the most. And then you go to the second most and the third most and then the fourth most. If you try to implement all 4 of these at the same time, you will have chaos in your business. It is better to focus on one and actually plug the leaks than to focus on all 4 and just put band-aids on the leaks. So how do you know that estimating accuracy is your problem? How do you know that this is where you should start? So number 1, you'll know that this is a problem when you don't even know your numbers. Typically, people think that they're only off just a little bit. In reality, they're off 10 to 15 and sometimes even 20% off on their estimates. I see this so often that they think they're making a lot of money. And yes, they did pay their guys, they paid their subs, they got the materials paid off, they gave themselves a tiny little paycheck at the end, and they don't have really a lot left over, but well, at least they broke even and they kept their business moving. That is not accurate. you have to estimate for profit. And if you don't have profit left over on the job, then you have an estimating accuracy problem. Another way that you know that you have an estimating problem is if you're constantly jumping in to your jobs and finishing it up because there's no money left over to go hire somebody out. I see this all the time where a sub will be flaky or some employee has something going on or something like that. And there's always these problems that happen. And so therefore the owner has to jump in because they don't have enough funds. They don't have enough profit in that job to go hire another sub or to go hire another person. And so therefore they consider themselves the cheapest labor. We'll get to that in a different video. And they will then just try to finish the job. So if your estimates don't have enough for all of these issues, then you have an estimating accuracy problem. Another way that you know that you have an estimating problem is if you have cash flow problems. If you really are trying to juggle where the money's coming from and how you're going to pay everything, and you don't have a clear picture on how money is flowing into your business and some of it is flowing out of your business. And so if any of those check the box of your business, then more than likely you have an estimating accuracy problem. So let's say that you're a remodeler and you do bigger jobs and smaller jobs, and the average job is $50,000. If you are off just 5% on each job, you are really losing $5,000 on every single job that you do. Now, you may not think like that's a whole lot of money. So let's say that you're estimating your jobs with a 25% profit margin. Now, obviously, some contractors get more than that. The contractors in my program can get anywhere from 40 to 50% profit margins. But on average, when I talk to contractors and they have the estimating profit leak, they're usually estimating about a 25% profit margin. Now, this is not markup, it's margin, and which gives them about $12,500 left over to have profit for the business. So this is going to pay for overhead, for your trucks, for your cell phone, for your subscriptions, for the taxes, for all of the things that run your business. You really only have about $12,500 left over. Now, if you lose 5% of that job because you didn't estimate accurately, then that's $5,000, but that's almost 50% of your profit margins just gone because you lost that $5,000. Now, honestly, 5% is really, really low. Like I said, most people are at the 10 to 15%, and some are even at the 20%. But I'm using conservative numbers so that you can understand how a little bit goes a long way and is compounded in your business. So if we extrapolate this out and we do it for the whole year, and let's say you do 26 jobs, that's 2 jobs per month, so you have 26 jobs, you're at about a $1.3 million business, which means that you're losing $125,000 in profit just by not estimating accurately. Now, like I mentioned, if you are closer to the 10 to 15%, which I often see, you're looking at about $250,000 to $375,000 in profit that could be in your bottom line, could be in your bank account right now, could help you go take a vacation or hire that best person that you want to hire, but you just cannot afford them. It's sitting right there in your jobs, but you are not capturing it. So what are the 3 systems that you need to actually get your estimates accurate? Well, number 1, you've got to know your numbers, which means that you have to do job costing reviews. Now, most people kind of glance at their bank account, think that they're barely breaking even, and then they're like, good enough. You need to know your numbers. You need to know exactly how much you actually lost, because that is the feedback loop that you need to then teach yourself or whoever's estimating for you to estimate differently. If you review your numbers and your behavior does not change, then you really just got awareness of your numbers, but you didn't learn what your numbers are. You just acquired some knowledge. So you want to make sure that you are actually doing job costing at the end of every single job. Next is to do template-based estimating. This is where it makes it a whole lot easier, number 1, to estimate yourself, and number 2, to then delegate estimating to somebody else. You should not be walking into a homeowner's home and looking around and going, yep, it's probably going to take 3 or 4 days of labor for this, a couple of this, add some material costs, and oh, yep, that's the estimate. That is not how you're supposed to estimate. Because if you're going off of gut, then there's no standard to actually even start to figure out what are the things that actually need to change in the estimate in order to get back this 5%. So use templates. How much per square footage is it? If you're putting in luxury fixtures, you should be at a certain amount. If you're putting in standard fixtures, it should be at a certain amount. If you're doing indoor versus outdoor, you'll kind of should know, like, I need to make sure I bump these up because anytime I do outdoor, I always have issues. Or anytime there's 2 stories, I have issues. Or whatever the case is, you need to start seeing the patterns based off your estimating and create estimating templates. One contractor I worked with, he was a painting contractor and he did both commercial and residential. And when we were going through this process, because he didn't have money in his bank account, and I was like, oh, guess what? You've got an estimating accuracy issue. So what we did is we started tracking his job cost accuracy. He was actually off only 5% on all of his jobs. So what we did is we just added a 5% buffer to everything. Oh, materials, this is how much it is. Boop, 5%. Labor, this is how much it is. Boop, 5%. And so because we could just know our numbers and go across the board and go, we're just going to charge 5% more, then they were starting to be profitable and they had the money in the bank account and they could go invest in more equipment and better employees and that type of thing. So this leads me to the third system you need to fix your estimate accuracy. And this is to build trust-based sales. Because what's going to happen is you're going to figure out your costs and go, oh boy, I'm not making any money. Then you're going to bump up all your prices. And then you're going to go, well, now I'm not going to get the clients anymore. If you put in a system to build trust with your clients, then your clients trust you and will pay the higher price that you are asking because that is what you deserve as a good quality contractor. Now moving on to profit leak number 2, and that is your closing rate. By fixing this profit leak, by fixing your closing rate, you can add anywhere from $1 million of revenue or even doubling your revenue. If you don't believe me, then I'm going to walk you through the math because here's the deal. You don't need more leads. You may need better leads, but you don't need more leads. You just need to close or have more of your leads become clients. You know that you have a closing rate profit leak when you are staying up late at night estimating, working on the weekends to estimate. You have a stack of estimates you need to get back to, and you just haven't had the time. And out of all of that work, you're only closing a few jobs. Now, yes, those few jobs are keeping you busy, but at the expense of a lot of hours and a lot of stress, but at the expense of a lot of hours estimating. If you are only closing 2 estimates out of every 10 estimates that you actually do, then that means you have a 20% close rate. This also means that 80% of your time you're giving away for free. This is why you are working so many hours with so few results. So let's say your average job is $50,000. If you are a $2 million contractor remodeler, then that means you need 40 jobs per year in order to equal $2 million. If your close rate is only 20%, then that means you have to do 200 estimates in order to equal that 40 per year, which means that you are spending a lot of time estimating for very few results. Now, if we are able to put in a couple of systems and actually go from 2 estimates to 4 estimates out of every 10, then we can actually double your business. This is what I have done to so many contractors. I help them with their closing rate. We put in the systems and processes to close the job and get the estimate over the finish line so that estimate turns into a paying client. So if we can put in the systems to go from 2 estimates to 4 estimates, not only does this number actually get cut in half, so that saves us a lot of time, but it also doubles our business overnight without adding more overhead and more marketing costs, and we've saved ourselves a bunch of time. So the very first system that you need to put in is a pre-qualification system. This means that you are actually pre-qualifying the person on the phone before you get to their house. This means that you're not going to take every job. You are going to be very particular on the jobs that you take because we're talking about a lot of time here. We need to make sure that we protect our time so that way we can actually grow our business profitably. A lot of times people think that they just need more leads, and really they just need to change how they close their leads so that they can turn more of their estimates into sales. The next one ties into the previous one about trust building content. If you want to stand out from all the other estimates that a homeowner is getting and they're comparing your estimate to somebody else's estimate, you have to have built trust with them throughout the entire process, not just when you go to their house and not when you just give them an estimate, but that trust building process needs to start all the way back from when they first learned about you and how they learned about you and all the touch points along the way in order for them to build trust. I've seen this happen time and time again where we put in the trust building systems and they've been $10,000 over the other contractor's price and they still win the job because they have built that trust in place and the homeowner knows the quality that they're paying for and they want that quality. And the third system is a follow-up cadence. This is where you have a consistent follow-up rhythm to follow up with your potential client so that you can get the job. Most people only follow up once or twice and then go, well, kind of a waste of time. I don't know if I'm going to get the job anyways, and they move on to somebody else. Most people need to have been followed up with multiple times, 5 to 7, and I've even heard up to 18 times before they're going to make a decision. So if your process is to follow up once or twice or send it over and say, let me know what you think, that is not a system that's going to help you double your close rate and therefore double your business. Now, profit leak number 3 is not closing your jobs on time and on budget. So when you can put in the systems to run your jobs on time and on budget, you can add $130,000 of profit to your job and at least $300,000 to the top line of your business and actually grow your business. Now let's break it down for a second so we can understand the numbers behind what it's costing you when your jobs run over, when there's scope creep, when things don't happen the way you want them to happen, and what to do about them. Now you know that you have this profit leak in your business when you're pulling your crew from one job to go start another one to keep people happy, but then this one's going long, but then this one should have finished a couple weeks ago, but it's still going on, and you have all these delays and you've got all of these things, and then you're jumping in to try to get things over the finish line so you can actually get paid and move on to that next job, and what should have taken a couple of weeks is taking a couple of months, and you are not getting paid for all of this work. This is how you know you do not have the systems in place to keep your jobs on budget and on schedule so that you can protect your profit. Let's say you're a remodeler whose average job is about $50,000. If you run over 10%, let's say you had to pay some extra overtime, or your allowances didn't fully cover material costs and you didn't charge for the change order, or things just kind of got delayed and there was scope creep and you lost 10% on each job, that's $5,000 of profit that you're losing on every single job. Now, we've already done this math before, so if you lose $5,000 on every single job and you do about 26 jobs per year, obviously this is a bunch of averages, but just stick with me. If you do 26 jobs per year, you're really losing $130,000 in profit that you are just wiping down the drain because you don't have the systems in place to keep the schedule going and to keep everything in budget. So the 3 systems that you need in order to get back that $130,000, and this doesn't include the money that you're going to lose because you can't go after other jobs because you're still trying to wrap up the other jobs, and so you keep pushing jobs out and you keep delaying it. And so it looks good that you've got jobs in the pipeline, but you're not taking advantage of those jobs fast enough, and therefore everything is swelling and you're not getting as many jobs done per year. And so really, you're going to be losing a lot of revenue just because everything is going to get delayed, and then you're going to have issues. So the 3 systems that you need in order to not lose $130,000 in profit is, number 1, you need to have a pre-construction checklist and a schedule before the job starts. Now, most people kind of just wing it at the beginning. And what happens is you wing it at the beginning and all of a sudden by the end it compounds. And that's what causes all the issues at the end of the job to close it out, to do the punch list, because there's so many things on the punch list and things take longer because you didn't actually do the planning ahead of time. But when you can plan your jobs and have a clear pre-construction checklist in place, then I can guarantee you, you won't have as many issues at the end of the job and you can finish the job on time. Now, one of the biggest things about a schedule is to actually have an end date on the schedule. Most people just go, okay, well, I'm going to finish in a couple weeks. No, there needs to be a date that people know about, your employees included, your subs included, your homeowner included, and you all need to stick to that. Because if there's no end date, then psychologically speaking, things just swell to whatever time you give it, which means that you're going to be losing a lot of time closing out the job, and you're not going to stick to whatever schedule you thought you had in your mind. The second system that you need is weekly production meetings. Now, I know this can sound boring, but you need to have weekly production meetings in place to make sure that you're staying on budget and on schedule. If you have a project manager, this is going to be with your project manager. If you are the project manager, then you need to have that moment of time where you're going to plan out the next couple of weeks so you don't have issues. Most contractors think that they're too busy to have a meeting with themselves to plan out the next couple of weeks, and everything is last minute and everything is built on the schedule that's in the owner's mind, and nobody knows really what to do, and then your efficiency tanks, your productivity tanks, and therefore everything takes longer than it should, and then you lose money on your jobs. And then the third system that you need is a very strong change order SOP. Something so that way you don't lose your profit, because every time you don't charge for a change order or you don't charge correctly for a change order, you end up losing your profit on that job, and you end up losing profit on that job. Now, profit leak number 4 is hiring and retaining talent. This profit leak could cost your business anywhere from $100,000 to $150,000 in profit every single year. Most contractors hire fast because they're desperate. They fire slow because they're afraid that they're going to have to jump back on the tools to fill in for that employee, and they don't really feel like doing that. Therefore, they fire slow, and then they skip training because they are too busy. This cycle is costing you $100,000 to $150,000 every single year because you do not have the right systems in place to hire and retain talent. Every time you go through a cycle of hiring fast, firing slow, and not training, you end up losing money, morale, and momentum. And all of these kill your business's ability to scale. You know that you have this issue if you are working more than you want to work in your business. This means that you're not delegating to the right people, or you don't have the people to delegate to. You also know that this is one of your profit leaks if you're getting text messages from your employees or you have to micromanage them. This means that you do not have the right team and the right culture to actually build and scale your employees. I usually warn every contractor I work with that when they start working with me and we start going through these profit leaks, that they're going to lose a couple of their employees within the first 90 days. And sure enough, it happens. It usually happens throughout the 30 to 60 day mark that they've been working with me. And what happens is as they raise their standards and they want more from their business, their employees aren't raising their standards, and therefore they either let them go or their employees end up just opting out and saying, I'm done, I'm quitting, I'm not gonna raise my standards. So let's put some math to it. So let's say your average employee in your business makes about $60,000 a year. Every time you have turnover, it's going to cost your business 30% of their annual salary, which means that you're going to lose $18,000 per person that you have turnover. Now, your turnover could happen with mediocre employees that you need to let go of, or they need to go find another job, but it could also be you losing your A players because you don't have the right systems in place and you're tolerating the mediocre employees. It works both ways. So if you lose 3 employees a year, that's actually costing you $54,000. Now, that's not the whole story. They've also done studies where only 23% of the workforce is actually engaged at work, which means that even though you may have employees, you're losing money in productivity because your employees are not actually doing what they're supposed to do. Now, oftentimes this is a result of them not knowing what they need to do because there are no systems and processes in place. So in order to hire and retain talent, you need to have a hiring system and you need to have a retention system. And these are 2 different systems that then merge into one to create the culture of your business. So the very first thing that you need to do is you need to figure out who do you need to hire. Most contractors need to hire at least 1 to 3 people as soon as we start working together because the owner is wearing multiple hats and they need to get their hats off of them. Now, we've already fixed a lot of the money problems, so they actually have the profit to go hire the right people so they can grow their business, but we actually have to know who to hire. And so this is where I use my hiring ladder. It shows you exactly where in your business you need to hire who. So that way you're not hiring the wrong person at the wrong time based on your growth. What I often see is contractors hire somebody that's like a project manager, and then it gets the owner stuck into administrative work in the office and not working on their business. They're just working in their business while their project manager is managing the jobs, except the owner is now micromanaging the project manager because they don't have the systems in place, and the project manager is not doing their job because they don't know their job. And so it ends up becoming this vicious cycle where you feel like you're on the hamster wheel all the time. You feel like you're juggling everything, wearing all the hats, and you are the bottleneck, which you are. So the very first step is the hiring ladder. Know who to hire next. With the hiring ladder, every single position in your business should have the systems and processes for that position. It should have a clear job description and clear outcomes that that position is supposed to achieve in order to be an A player in that position, and then it knows exactly what they need to do to get to the next level. Now, once you know who you need to hire, you need to see how all of these different hires are going to work together. And this is where I use the Working Genius Assessment. This doesn't just test people on like who they are personality-wise, it tests what their genius is, what their superpowers are, what they love to do. And when you can fit everyone's geniuses and everyone's weaknesses balanced out with everyone's strengths, then you can actually build a business where everyone is thriving. Literally, I have every contractor in my program take the Working Genius Assessment and their entire team. And sometimes it's just a little shifting of who's supposed to do what in what roles that the productivity goes up by 20% and their business grows overnight because we're actually putting the people in the right position. Now, this is better than an org chart because an org chart is just some boxes and lines and who's controlling who and who's reporting to who. This is actually more like, well, what am I really good at? And what are you really good at? And how can we complement each other? It also is going to be really helpful to know what types of traits that you want in somebody else that's going to complement yours versus compete with yours. And so that way, all of the geniuses that are necessary for a business to run are present in your business with the people that you're actually hiring. This is also going to help you weed through resumes and applications because you're going to spot who you need in your business based off that puzzle piece that they fit into versus, oh, their resume looks good, I think I'll hire them. And you're not actually going through the vetting process correctly and hiring the right people for your business. And next is a leadership cadence. Your employees need to know what is expected of them, what they need to be accountable for, and accountability is really communicating what they are responsible for. Most employees have no idea what they're responsible for. So adding in that leadership layer is really important. This means reviews with your employees, getting to know them as an employee, getting a relationship with them. Obviously not as a family, but just building that relationship so they know that you care. Most employees don't quit businesses, they quit managers. And if your manager or you are the manager and you're not managing your people in a way that they're going to have that opportunity to grow and get their goals met, then you're going to see them leave and then you're going to lose that amount of money. If you fix even just one of these money leaks, I can guarantee you that you will see a big difference in your business in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. Put all four in and you can double your business and triple your profit. Now that we've come to the end of this video, I want you to put in the comments what profit leak you're going to focus on first. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel so you'll be notified the next time I put out content like this to help you grow and scale your construction business.